To start, just tell me like who you are, what you do, and how this all started.
Sure. My name is John Butera, co-founder of IACKids. It's about caring for kids. And how it started, I think, is a little different for all the five co-founders. I was living in Philadelphia with my wife, and at that time, we just had one child. And Children's Hospital of Philadelphia was an account that I used to go to once every month or two. I remember seeing families walking around the lobby of the hospital and just thinking to myself, like, I wish I could do something for these people because they looked exhausted.
Yeah.
Like pulling their kid around in a wagon and then the other parent maybe with an IV pole behind them. And I just remember feeling kind of helpless, but I felt this like need to do something, or I wanted to do something. And that lingered for a couple of years. I'm like, I'm not rich. I hardly make enough money to make ends meet for my family. Someday I'm going to do something. And to be honest, one day I was interviewing for a new job that would send us back to Rochester, New York. And I remember, I'm a person of faith, so I remember praying, I want to make more, save more, give more. Make more, save more, give more. And if I get this job, I want to make more, save more, give more. And I kept saying that. Well, I did get that job. It brought me back to Rochester, New York, and I made more, saved more. And I'm like, okay, it's time to do something, right? One of our friends had a child that had a rare blood cancer. Again, another pivotal moment where I went to visit him just one time when he was in the hospital getting towards the end. And I remember just seeing the parents. These are not just friends, they're like family to us. I remember looking at them and thinking, like, how can somebody go through this? Mm-hmm. I had at the time, Luca was here, my oldest, my second one was on the way. It's been burned in my brain forever. And when we left visiting, Nicholas was his name, I remember walking towards a parking garage and seeing kids alone. Who would leave their kid alone in the hospital? Like, there's a little kid in a room by themselves. And I don't know if it was a nurse or a social worker heard us. And they kind of corrected us with like, because mom and dad have to work. And I'm like, what the heck? It's not the wrong decision that they made. It's a decision that they had to make. Mm-hmm. And I just could not fathom that having to be that way. And I'm like, all right, we have to do something. So when Nicholas did pass, the five of us got together, watched a Buffalo Sabres game, had some beers, and it's like, let's start charity. And then that started IACKids. All five of us are children of Italian immigrants. And so coming from Rochester, New York, the entire city is Italian, or they're acting Italian. Yeah. So naturally we're like, you know what? We're going to be the Italian American Coalition for Kids. Horrible idea. I played a pretty central role in that bad decision. Yeah. Because I thought, you know what? They're going to love this. They're going to donate their money. They're going to want to fund this whole project. And quite honestly, it's like, seeing Sopranos and all these other Godfather movies, like, can Italians be known for something that's positive and not violent? We didn't realize how big we're gonna get, and it exploded. And we kept having to answer questions like, do you help people other than Italians or just Italians? Like, oh my God, no, we help everybody. The need was so great that we had to make a change, but we wanted to keep the acronym IACKids. Yeah. So it's about caring for kids.
People assume sometimes that like the government steps in these situations and solves the problem, or that the community rallies around this. But there's kind of a sweet spot. So like if you're a high wealth individual, this is not an issue.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that if you are extremely poor, it is less of an issue because there are more things that are available for you to take advantage of. Is that accurate?
That is 100% accurate.
But if you are the majority of Americans, middle class, there's not a lot in the way of help. And not only that, but how often pride keeps people from asking for help when they need it, even if they're, contributing members of society, normally have everything on lock, life takes a turn. Who are the people that you generally help?
You hit the nail on the head. Those are the families. We actually get way too many, way too late, because now credit cards are maxed out. Not 1, 2, 3, 4 credit cards are maxed because they don't want to ask for help. God forbid this happened to my family. We have this huge network of family and friends that I know we would be okay. For a lot of people, they don't have that. They're alone. And the social workers, who are amazing individuals, they really know how to help those people that fall below that poverty line. Yep. And that middle income family, they don't talk about it. So mom takes that leave. Dad doesn't even talk about it, other than oftentimes they feel helpless. Yep. I know that's how I would feel. And they finally, with some education with the social workers will pry on that family a little bit, like, Are you really okay? There is an organization that exists. And that's when we get them. We get an application that says, mom makes $45,000 a year, dad makes $40,000 a year. Before this happened, things were okay. Now things are not okay. They haven't been paying bills for 3, 4, 5 months, and it's a real problem. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an example. A family I remember, and I hope I don't get emotional talking about it because it's a tough one for me. But the child's name is Peyton, and we were doing Thanksgiving dinners, and I remember just dropping things off. We were just delivering turkeys left and right, and this family, said, sure, we'll take it. And I remember dropping it off to them, and as I was leaving, I remember seeing the mom and just thinking to myself, there's something else going on. I need to go back. When you look at somebody and you have an instant connection, we kind of had that. Amazing family, and I just went back and knocked on the door again. I'm like, are you sure there's nothing else we could do? And she had the breakdown a little bit, and I had the breakdown a little bit. What we needed to do was, this mom, she kept dropping out of nursing school to be with her child who needed weekly infusions, multiple times a week, I should say. And we thought to ourselves, we just got to get her through nursing school. Today, child is doing great. Mom has been a nurse for many years and is now helping families that were helping her. Those are the kind of families that you meet. And it took a long time to get dad to even open up about some things, because men are just a little bit different in the way we handle those kind of situations.
If you're a person that is, having these issues, you find out that you have a child, that is sick, that requires round-the-clock care from a parent, and you go to IACKids, what does that look like?
I will say I think we're one of the easiest organizations that they get to work with. A very simple, streamlined application process that mom or dad fills out. It just tells us who you are, what you do for work, when did you stop work, what is the child's condition, what is the prognosis, because we kind of want to know that because it helps us understand how to work with you better. And then we want to know your financial situation, because we don't just throw money at things. Because, to me, the most responsible thing I can do with somebody who sends in $100 and says, I wish I could do 1,000, but this is the best I can do. I can't waste a penny of that money, because that means a lot to them, to me, and I want to make sure that is never wasted. Yep. And so we really nickel and dime with each family to make sure we are taking care of the things that are causing a lot of stress, but also when the illness is over, setting them on a path of financial kind of freedom in a way. They're not stuck with bills that never seem to go away. In worst case scenario, some parents get credit card bills or bills from a funeral home. And to me, that cannot happen. And we even take care of those kind of things. So it's a very easy process. So if you fill out an application today, good chance my wife or I will call you tonight, and we will understand what's going on and start working with you. And sometimes we get payment out the next day if it's a good fit.
You guys are expanding at a pretty good rate. You're operating in New York, New Jersey, North Carolina, and you're expanding. Where would you like to see the organization go?
A goal of mine, something that would be a perfect world scenario where every major city that has a children's hospital has an IACKids, right? I don't know if that's realistic because of what it takes to run a program like that, but if that could happen, we have a board of directors in every major city, because no one should have to deal with the things that these families deal with. Yeah. So that would be my ultimate goal. But we are a bunch of, the co-founders, everyone on our board, we all have full-time careers. We have varying wealth on the board, but nobody's Bill Gates on the board, right?
Nobody's a billionaire.
Right. So we all have full-time jobs. We do this on the side. We do this late nights and weekends, or when you do IACKids. Typically what comes in goes out. As long as we have that steady stream, then we're okay. So that's where I would love to see this go, both in Rochester and in North Carolina. And then if anyone that wants to start a board in another city, maybe have the ability to make that happen.
Now, I think it's safe to say that we can only have Italians on the board.
Of course.
Correct. All right. Yeah. As long as we're aligned, we're aligned in that regard.
It's not true.
So, I do think that you guys are going to continue to expand and to take it to the next level. One thing that I know will need to happen, and is always the fear of nonprofits, you will eventually need to have real full-time staff. I know that that's the bane of existence, because you think, I don't want to have, I don't want to take $1 that's being donated that could go to a family to pay someone. But that is a thing that I think you're going to need to think about soon. Okay. Where are you on that? What are the discussions that happen there?
So not yet. It is something, you're right, we resist. And I think there's probably a lot of truth into that. If we want to get to that next level, we're going to need some folks to run it and run it efficiently and run it the right way. So we're not there. I'm hoping that someday we might be at the point where we're not retirement age, but maybe we've we're in a position where we can just make IAC Kids full-time, not draw a paycheck, because it's so important for us that every dollar that comes in goes to a family. But where we are at right now is that the board of directors funds all the administrative costs of the organization. So if we throw a huge gala, if we spend any money, the board pays for it. So it's just important for me to know that someone donates a dollar goes to that family. Someday, if it's you donate $1.92 goes to that family, that's fine too. As long as the administrative costs are for the right things and the right reasons, not.
Have you guys thought about getting sponsors from large corporations in order to pay these administrative costs? Maybe even fund, an executive director.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I haven't thought of it. Yeah. It's actually something we're missing right now.
So you large companies out there that want to do some good in the world, this would be a relatively low expense that could make a world of difference. Don't be a piece of crap. Consider sponsoring IAC Kids.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to make it happen right there. I mean,
it might.
If they were in this room, they would definitely do it.
I'll tell you what, if anybody sponsors IAC Kids, we will do an entire video about how awesome you are and donate that to you so that you can tell the world that you guys are kicking ass and helping IAC Kids. So there's my contribution. Some of these families have lost children, and they're still out there talking about how great you guys are, and they had the worst possible outcome. And you maintain these relationships, these lifelong relationships with these people regardless of the outcome. Like, why do you think that is? Because the transaction is over. Like you've done what you were supposed to do. You did the good. Why are you still talking to these people?
I can answer it. It's a tough one to answer because I get goosebumps just even when you ask it that way, because the relationships we form, not with everybody, but with most, are real. And you go through the journey with them. Unfortunately, we do empathize with them. We spend time with them. Sometimes we are their outlet to vent their frustration about this, whether it's the system, whether it's the doctors they're working with, whatever that might be. We are on that journey with them. And if it does get to the point where they do lose one, there's just a connection that you have with these families that it's unbreakable. Like if I see one of these parents, I'll immediately become a little emotional because I went on that ride, unfortunately, that they had to go on. I still remember at a dinner meeting in Phoenix where I was there for work, and it was a nice dinner meeting, and I get the text from Elizabeth. When Elizabeth Prinzi texted me and told me that Jonah passed, it's like time freezes for me now. I can't keep the face on. I step away, kind of regroup, but I'm working with 8-9 families at one time. So we kind of take a lot of that load, that emotional load. I think they know it's real, it's genuine. We don't do this to make ourselves feel better. I think everybody has reasons for wanting to do good. At the beginning, it might be, I want to feel good. But then I think it turns into a responsibility that I can't ignore it. So when we moved to North Carolina, it was like, we have to start IAC Kids in North Carolina because this is a big part of who I am. What I do for work is work, and I love it. I'm thankful for it, but this is, IAC Kids it's kind of what we've become.
When I watch people on social media, everybody seems to think that they have the answer to all of the political questions.
Right.
And everybody thinks if I was in charge, I could kind of save the world or whatever.
Right.
But very few people take the time to save their community. And that is something that you can affect. If I was elected president tomorrow, do I personally think that I would be able to align America, put aside the Democratic and Republican interests, bring us all together, make the world a better place? No. Maybe a little, I would try.
Yeah.
But it's too big of a sandwich to eat. You're not going to solve all those problems, but I can coach a kid in wrestling. I can tutor a kid. I can contribute to IAC Kids. There are incremental things I can do locally that make a huge difference. And if, as a country, we just get 3% more people doing that, this will be a better place. And I think when I look at your organization, I fundamentally think that's what you're doing. So now that I've done my Italian diatribe, I invite you the opportunity to do the same.
It's, if the choice is to be pissed off and do nothing, or to try to just do something to make someone else's life a little bit better, just go with the latter. You'll be surprised at how it actually makes you feel. And when you talk about what we see on social media, I'm not on there a whole lot because it doesn't really do a whole lot of good for me, because I'd rather invest the time into doing something. I'm not pretending that I don't get sucked into certain things and I don't have eye rolls over things and I don't have my opinions. I do. But I don't know, I'm still amazed at what this has turned into, because we are not the smartest individuals you ever meet in your entire life. I know that's not a shock to you,
Yeah.
but
Definitely true.
but like, we all have different specialties. But no, it's just do something, you know, whether it is just giving money. We need money.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, people always ask, like, how can I help? It's like, I don't need volunteers. I kind of need money.
Yeah.
And because that's what these families
But
need.
I think that's okay to say.
Totally.
I think that's okay to say. You know, it's like, sometimes it's just okay. Like,
Yeah.
you need these people need money. They don't need meals. They don't need, you know, pats on the back. It's like,
Yeah.
they need to pay their mortgage. And there is something huge about knowing that, again, we said it before, but like, knowing that your family's not going to go hungry, knowing that you're going to keep your home while you deal with this life-changing issue, right?
Yeah, it helps them sleep. And I don't pretend that we don't need certain things, right? Like, we've put roofs on houses.
Yeah.
We had a family one time where they had buckets all over the house
Yeah.
because they could not fix a leaky roof. They couldn't
Yeah.
afford it. We had a roofing company come in and donate all of their time. So those kind of services do help. But we need that help occasionally, but we're an organization that needs money because those families need money.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the parting thoughts that you have for people? So obviously, like, donate to IACKids. I've seen firsthand, like, they make a huge difference in people's lives. But, you know, what are your parting thoughts for people that are watching this or listening to it, and what they can do to kind of make your organization better, or just in general make the world a better place?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, spread the word, because we're in North Carolina now and the need here is huge. It's unique. It's a little different than what we do in Western New York. Parents and families are coming from all over North Carolina and to be treated at either Duke or UNC. So the travel expenses are very different than what we're used to up in Western New York. Do little fundraisers would be huge for us. Anything you can think of, donate. You might not think $5 will do anything. When you add that up, it matters. Our average donation is not huge. It's probably around 80 to $100. And that adds up and makes a big difference. And we promise, I've pledged, we will never waste the money you donate. It always goes to a great family. We don't just give things away to give it away. We really get into the nitty-gritty with the family to make sure we give them exactly what they need and they don't want anymore. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't believe the way we have to convince them. I'm in sales for a living. I have to convince families to take the money because they're like, well, maybe another family needs this more than I do. Those are the kind of people that we're helping. There's a lot of ugly out there, and there are a lot of things that people have to go through, and we need help.
You know, give to IACKids, help an actual community. Yeah. And if you cannot, you know, donate for whatever reason, help out. If you aren't particularly interested in this issue, which would be evil, because these are sick kids, so you're a bad person if you're not interested. I'm talking about you, Greg. I don't know who Greg is. There is a Greg. There's a Greg out there watching this who is a piece of and I'm glad you're hearing this because somebody needs to tell you, Greg.
It's your wake-up call, Greg.
It's your wake-up call. Get involved in something.
Absolutely.
Something in your community that makes a difference. Selfishly, your life will be better for it, and selflessly, you'll make a huge impact on somebody.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for
coming
out, and hopefully we raise a bunch of money for IACKids.
Thank you. Appreciate it.